I don't know, about halfway back, I guess.
Good. I need you to make a quick detour.
Gosh, why?
One of our patrols went off the grid somewhere near the market.
How is that my problem?
I'm making it your problem. See if you can find them, or don't bother coming back.
Bienvenido, jugadores, to my review of Dying Light. This covers my playthrough on PS4 and PC, just to highlight any difference between console and PC versions. First up, if you have a decent PC, and in this case we are talking around my i5 4690 and GTX 970, then the first and single biggest difference is the frame rate. If you drop the settings slightly to match the PS4, then a pretty much locked 60 is your reward. Outside of this, they are pretty much identical, but please check out my detailed head-to-head to know more. If your PC is not of that level and you have a 2GB or less card and lower than 8GB of system RAM, you may experience less than PS4 performance and quality. Well, in fact, you probably will. If you've got an AMD rig like mine, the 7870, which you'll see again on the head-to-head and detailed breakdown, you'll see the performance is actually lower than the PS4 and certainly isn't the best way to play it, even though you'll see a lot of footage from that because it is the version I had the chance to play on most of the time when I was playing through. Be under no illusions, this game needs a good rig. I have placed the minimum and recommended specs below for PC, with recommended getting you around console performance, which is still very good and a pretty much locked 30 FPS. With that start out of the way, we can experience the rest of the game across both identically. The PC version does suffer from some occasional stutters from time to time and textures not loading fully, but these are rare and far from a real concern. PS4 also has this, but to a much lesser degree, and it's very short-lived. The game begins with a video capped at 30 FPS playing out as you are airdropped into Haran, a city overrun and swarming with the undead, which all seems an ideal recipe to get your arse munched, and so it is served. Being safe and becoming a 4 AM nightclub refugee yourself is a small group of fighters holed up in a tower block of relative safety located in the slums. Here you realise that survival is the order of the day and night. With you now being affected, they kindly give you an injection of antigen, the formula that keeps the infection at bay as they search for a cure for this new type of rabies. After going through the standard rites of passage and a training section to get you used to running, vaulting and effectively Jackie Channing your way around, traversing this shanty undead town. At first this feels very clunky and awkward, not only as the jump button is mapped to the R1 on the pad, but also the fact you have to look at the ledge, roof or whatever once you grab onto and keep the button held to clamber up. But after a while and practice it does get easier and you get used to using R1 rather than X to jump. On the PC the spacebar is more standard with the mouse, but again holding space and shift for running is a little bit clumsy, with the normal fast and accurate benefit of mouse muted here slightly as the game fits more at home on a pad in my opinion, but you do get used to it on mouse or pad. Combat is another area that also feels alien and lumbering. Zombies at first take an age to go down. Rather than a rotting meat bag, they seem to be more of a badass cyborg taking multiple strikes to go down. This is made even more frustrating by the relative speed at which the melee weapons degrade and break, leaving you with nothing but limp swings and hurled abuse for defense. But the most likely action is to leg it, and you'll be doing a lot of this as the game has no fast travel and the map is big. And as you work through it, more sections open up. The main story is you are undercover agent Carl Crane, sent in to find the cure and help save mankind, but with some questionable orders issued early on being a difficult line to follow and cross. Soon you become the hero Haran needs to rescue and overthrow the overlord dictator that controls most of the city.
Was that my left or your left? Your services? Your loyalty? Perhaps I should take both.
Talk to Karim.
And the story, although in no way original or surprising, is serviceable to keep you on the journey to the end. But it does offer up some diversity in the side quests, as NPCs you meet throughout the extended holiday here. Most, like the main story, involve much fetch questing, and though this is a criticism aimed at most games like this, see Far Cry, Dragon's Age, and certainly Dead Island, it does have some branching or segmented missions that get you interested enough to take the next one on to see where it all leads. Visually it is a lovely looking game. With it being an open sandbox you are free to explore, and it looks like a gorgeous holiday resort at times, bathed in South American sunshine with a full day-night cycle. Detailed and smooth shadows are cast across all objects and zombies. Your torch also casts shadows as you explore and creep out. Being an update from the Chrome Engine 5 that powered Dead Island, you can see the difference here. The visual stakes between the old gen version here on the Xbox 360 is a huge leap on with the Chrome Engine 6 used to generate the visuals here from Dying Light. And this is not the only time you see some similarities between the two games. The control mechanism, the way the melee works, the zombies, even the environments look very similar. And certainly the crafting elements, run around and scavenging the whole area, nicking money, metals, objects, is all identical from Dead Island, as is the attack mechanisms, and also the fact that your weapons break down and degrade as you fight, your stamina bar underneath, and running tires fast. All of these are a very similar path. But it seems as if, unlike Dead Island, which was a very poorly put together and a badly performing game with tearing everywhere, there seems to be a lot more work and effort put into this game. But unfortunately, it still doesn't feel as if it's a work of art and a cheap man's version of Far Cry 4 or Far Cry 3. And that sounds offensive, and it's not meant to, but it does have a lot of similarities with that game, which I'll touch on a little bit further in the review. But what else does the Chrome Engine 6 bring to the party? Well, it is also used to generate these visuals, and again it's got an update of a physically based shader included, which includes spherical harmonics to calculate indirect lighting as you play. This is far more approximate method to handle light diffusion and radiance on objects based on the glancing angle of light and surface. Pre-calculated light probes are used at set times of day and are then blended together to handle the progression from glorious bleak sunlight to gloomy night. And here the game takes a huge 180. During the day, even early on, you can simply run, climb and dodge the lumbering hordes with nary a care, not so when night falls. The viral zombies come out, and these are far more capable and panic-inducing than the day numbers crowd. Tension is further increased by the day mob getting a new lease of life and now resembling 28 days later sprinters. It makes night missions the toughest and dread-filled sections of the game. It is made harder by the lower light levels and the film grain that is present during the day, but far more impactful here. And with the parkour control never being as free-flowing as the originator Mirror's Edge. But this is where the game offered up a very sterile and clinical clear path for you to follow with red, blue and orange markers along the area. Techland have taken a different slant on this and have allowed the mechanic to be completely open, and effectively if you can reach it you can climb it. At night when being chased with the rear slow-mo view adding great tension and a nice visual touch, and even though this can sometimes be your downfall, I like its addition and what it adds. But here it shows up the most need to improve your character through missions, both main and side, and exploration traversal which adds to your point bank you can use to upgrade your skills and skill set. Midway through you have a decent set of skills that allow you to jump on zombies' heads and shoulders, slide past with ease, dodge, grab and throw, slice and dice, multiple munches with grace, but it never feels as smooth and fluid as you would hope. The parkour becomes much more satisfying and easier with time, but the combat, although improving and your crafted weapons last a little longer and deal more damage, still feel too gimped and clumsy moments still occur.
Oh, fuck.
I like that guns are very scarce, and even though popping heads like a watermelon is fun, the flesh feast flare they send off makes them a last choice action rather than a regular tool of destruction. The human gangs are not much cleverer than the hordes, and it is good to lure them into a trap and allow the game's biggest obstacle to aid you in clearing of them. Characters and voice acting in the game is good if not great, and they stray far enough from being ultimately generic in their execution to work, and some of the voice work can undermine any great connection or empathy you get, and this is mirrored in the protagonist being very much a 2D military-like Chris Redfield work of Roger Craig Smith, and becoming as engaging a character as Jason Brody from Far Cry 3.
Right, Crane?
I'll go. I'll do it.
Right. Yes. Crane will go. He'll be happy to.
And this is not the game's only hint of Ubisoft's said open adventure. The actual lighting system is very similar, with that game also using pre-calculated light probes. The upgrades, mission structure and crafting all have a feel of a zombie-filled iteration of that game. You also get the climbing of towers and opening up radio towers, and this is one of the sections that's actually quite infuriating, because the layout of the towers and knowing where to climb and how to climb can be frustrating, because you don't know how high up you need to go, and you have to use the Q button or the search button to regulate whereabouts on the level you need to find the tower and unlock the button. And it does not feel a far cry at all from it. Sorry, couldn't resist that. Sound is of a high point in the game, with great meaty sound effects, wind howls, zombie moaning and shrieking, echoing in tunnels, and also a great electronic soundtrack that really fits the game well. Just that some of the dialogue and acting can feel a little lacking at times.
You're gonna bleed us dry. That is entirely not my problem. Rise wants his payment, so you make the payment or things get bad for you.
Ugh, a real man would have kicked his ass.
Yeah, I'll leave you to it. Sounds like you have bigger problems than money.
But it is humorous at times, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. You also have to craft and collect throughout the game, and these include airdrops that get dropped randomly as you play through. But hurry, if you leave it too long, these will be nabbed by the Warlord's henchmen. It is a big game, with the main story taking well over 14 hours to finish. Never mind what the side missions add to that, with at least probably the minimum of that again. And this should be applauded, but the retreading of the same areas can get a little grindy early on, and breaks from long play sessions are advised to alleviate this stress. Ultimately, it offers up a better, more consistent and enjoyable game than Dead Island, but feels more like an upgrade of that rather than an entirely new slant. Having a much better split of mission structure that still lets itself down by having far too many checkpoint Charlies sitting at a desk or door waiting for you to collect the mission memo and do their bidding. It would be nicer to have more missions where you went off with another AI character or group and the mission dynamically altered based on events of your actions or inactions. Being sent empty-handed and one-manned into these missions just has too much of a parallel for me to horror movies with the need to explore a darkened cellar noise alone wrapped in a towel. But this is hardly an exclusive issue to Dying Light. But the mission structure and the fetch questing cannot be denied, and this gets even more frustrating when you die from doing one of these missions and then get sent all the way back to the other side of the map at the nearest safe house, and sometimes it isn't even the nearest safe house you get dropped into, and you then have to run all the way back because again there is no fast travel in the game. Multiplayer co-op is also unlocked early on, allowing you and 3 friends to work through the game and side missions, which can add some group laughs as you deliver an en masse kick-in on The Walking Dead. But most fun is had in the Be the Zombie mode, enabling you to assume the guise of the Night Prowlers with its own upgrade path, and can be satisfying invading other games and tearing the happiest human limb from limb with ease. When this happens to you though, it amplifies your relative weakness to them. It does have the option to turn this mode off for players that want to concentrate on the single player aspect alone, and it is a nice additional touch. Enemies in the game do expand though, with huge powerful armed zombies with hammers, runners, exploding gut munchers, spitters of goo, and agile ones that run and scream and dodge and evade your attacks, keeping you honest as your repertoire expands. It offers up an enjoyable and time-consuming game that will not surprise or shock in any way, and sometimes can feel a chore and a grind to complete on long repetitive missions, which with the entertaining but standard villains along with a linear and scarcely explained rebel group leaves you with a fun at times but forgettable tale of zombie culling. With scoring not being a very useful and subjective method for a game, I have tried to introduce a more appropriate method of purchase value. With that in mind, I've decided to give the game a cash value, and at that point I'd say between £15 and £20 or $30 to $35 spent on this will feel as if you've got a good value of your money, with some of that recouped if you've got it on console and you can then resell or trade in. It means so long as you enjoy these types of games, it will offer up a decent distraction for a few weeks or days dependent on your commitment. Just don't expect any great surprises. As always, I hope you enjoyed this or any of my other content. Please check out my detailed head-to-head, technical analysis, reviews and previews, and I've got a lot more coming up very soon. Please hit the like button if you did, and the subscribe button if you enjoyed this or any of my other content. I appreciate each and every one of you that does. Please check out my channel of current and all forthcoming videos. You guys and girls take care, and I'll see you soon on the next one.
Understand? I give you shelter, I give you bread, women, bullets, and you cannot do a simple task.
What? No. No, forget it. I'm not doing it.
I hear no true conviction in your voice, Crane. You have not yet made your choice, I can tell. Will you be a dog and save the dwellers of the tower? Or will you be a man and save the maiden?